Hey everyone, so today we have Devansh Gajjar with us, who is going to talk about interfaces and experiences, and he's going to help you all with getting started with design. So Devansh, over to you.
All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this session, and so let's start with this session basically. And so, hello, this is me, and my name is Devansh Gajjar. My pronouns as per English are he and his, but my friends like to call me Devlo, Devla, Jignesh, and there's one more Debu. I don't know why do they call me that, but they call me that. And I'm a Mozillian. All right. So I started with my journey with Mozilla started in October 2019, and since then I've been contributing in the community with design. So I try to design event posters, social media posts, and and basically anything related to design. I have designed a couple of websites for, like, if you see mozillagujarat.org, I try to help with the design. And then there's another community websites also. Then I used to be a front end developer in the first year of my college. So I passed out. So I completed my bachelor. So it was long time ago, like probably 2 years ago. And I play cricket, football, and table tennis. Table tennis इतना अच्छा नहीं आता है, ठीक ही आता है. But yeah, I do play that. And I settled with design finally. For development's good because I was not really good at development, but also I was very fond of development. I was very fond of design basically, and I did like to develop, but it was not for me, is what I felt. So yeah, and I like to call myself an experienced designer because what I think that when I'm designing something, I'm designing experiences for people, not just some graphic or some colors or some shape, right? So this is basically what one needs to know about me. All right, so let's get started with interfaces and experiences, shall we? So we will talk about design, we'll talk about some resources, we'll talk about platforms, and we'll talk about people, right? So people who design, who are good at design, whom I admire apparently. And yeah, so if you want to stop me at any time, at any point of time in the session, you are free to do that. And if you want to take over, you can do that too. I don't mind. All right. So first of all, people have asked me how to design, and but before that, we need to understand what basically design is. So according to Paul Rand, who is one of the best graphic designers I have come across. He has designed the the IBM's poster where you see the I as in the literal I, the B, and the M. So that is designed by him. Then UPS logo, which the courier service, the parcel service. Then next computers logo, like which was founded by Steve Jobs, and he also redesigned a logo for Ford, which was not used, but it was good. So these are some of the big designs he has done, logo designs, and other graphic designs he has done. So according to him, design is the method of putting form and content together, right? So design is just as art, has multiple definitions. There are no single definition. Design can be art, design can be aesthetics. Design is so simple, that's why it is so complicated. So I do agree with this, but sometimes I feel that design tries to solve a problem, and Paul Rand also agrees with it that design is basically trying to solve a problem, right? But whenever we try to differentiate design fields like graphic, UI, UX, the use cases change. So our perception towards the solution of the problems changes, right? So people have also asked me how to get started with design, right? And the first thing they ask me that what software do I learn to design, right? And my answer is that you need not know how to use a design software, and basically I'll tell you why. So let's imagine that you want to design something, right? So what happens usually on a broader scale? First of all, you think that okay, we have to design something, so we have to think that where do we find inspiration, what colors do we use, what typography do we use. So first we think, and then we try to find inspiration over the internet. We go to Behance or Dribble, or even on Instagram. We try to find something which is similar to our design platform, and we try to design something similar. And after that, an idea sparks. Oh, right, I can design something like this, right? And after all of this, you start to design. All right. So apparently, uh, about 75% of the whole design process is just thinking, finding inspiration, idea generations, and that does not require any software, right? So all people are concerned about is the other 25%, which is a very minority, and which probably you did not have to be able to design, right? You can tell your friend who is into a software, and you can tell them, dude, I have this idea and I want to design, right? So you can do that. So what you have to be worried about is the other 75%, how to come up with a good design. So we should not stop ourselves with reasoning that, dude, I do not know how to use a software, so I guess I will not be able to design. That is not design is entirely. It is about how you are able to creatively find solutions to the problems. For example, if you have to design a poster, right? Now you have to design a poster for an event, for a dance event. So what you do is you look at dance event posters, similar dance event posters which you like. You find colors, you find some typography. After that, you have an idea. You have idea that I'll put an image in a circle, I'll put an image in a line, something, right? And after that, you think of designing it on a software. So you do not have to worry about the software priorly, right? So that is what you have to do even while learning designing. You first have to learn what goes into design, what are the principles of design, what are elements of design, right? So people, and when it comes to UI and UX entirely, it UI and UX is relatively new, while experience design is has been considered as an older field. But user interface design, human computer interaction design has come when computers were invented, right? While design is ages old, it has a history, right? So we have to learn that thing first, the basics first, the design part first. So yeah. And in fact, I bet everyone here knows how to design, if given knowing a software makes one a designer. Now, why would I say that? Here's an example, right? On the left, you see is an interface designed by me on Paint, using Paint, and on the right, I have used Adobe XD, right, which people majorly use, and a good fair of people use Adobe XD to design UIs and UXs, right? So you can clearly see a difference, that it is really not about the software; it is about how you think about design, how you implement some certain principles of design, how you present the elements of design. Here there is text, a welcome statement. Here there is a title which shows how to create account. There's fields and there's a button, right? And same thing on the right? So here you can see how less important it is to know how to know a design software, and I bet everyone knows here how to use Paint. Now, what you can learn about to get designing, right? So there are principles of design. So let me get you started with the basic principles. Not These are not basic principles of design, but these are certain principles you can use while you are trying to design literally anything. May it be a poster, may it be a UI, may it be even a UX. So I'll make you go through these principles. The first of all, the first is composition. So composition is basically how you are portraying the information. Here you have two images and you have text. So composition is basically how you are basically laying your information down on a plane. All right, so here you have text. So obviously the image on the right ka text will go below the image on the right only, and the image on the left will go on the left only, right? If you put the text of left image on the right side, it won't be feasible, right? It won't relate, and people might get confused. The ones who are going to perceive it will be confused, right? So that is that. After that we have balance. So right, if there's two elements and those two elements have similar priority, then why one has to go 90, why one has to take up the 70% of the space, like we did in a like we did in the previous slide, right? So we have to try to find a balance between both the compositions, right? After that we have alignment. If you align the design pretty well, the composition itself starts to get a shape and it starts to feel good, right? Because human mind psychologically likes everything symmetrical. It likes things if they are aligned, right? After that we have repetition. So if you have a similar type of information to be portrayed, it is better to show it in a repetitive content so that people can understand that this is the same information, that like this piece falls under the same what do we call it, same proximity of the information, right? After that we have contrast. So contrast helps in identifying the content, right? If you have a background and you have a foreground, now foreground is especially used if you want to put it in a hierarchical manner. So basically, if you want to show text, right, so you have to have it very in a good high contrast so that people are able to understand it is legible, right? So that is what contrast is used for. Okay, so you have composition, you have balance, you have alignment, you have repetition, and you have contrast. Now one might say that emphasis and contrast are contradictory, right? Emphasis, if you see on the left, is basically very similar to contrast, right? But it not really is. So emphasis is used when you want to emphasize a certain piece of information within a proximity. So here you can see there's an element in the left and you want to emphasize the leftmost element. So that is how you use the value to emphasize. That is why I have used the value of the color to emphasize it, right? So you can use this. For example, if you have used the slider in a UI, so you have to slide it. So on you can use, if you want to change the slide, you can lessen the opacity so that you can emphasize on the current slide, right? You can do that. After that, we have hierarchy. So you can
It looks like Devansh is having some internet issues. So let me just quickly check in with him and see what the problem is. In the meantime, if you have any like questions for Devansh, just put it in the chat, and when he joins, I'll ask the questions for you. So yeah, just give me a few minutes to check in with him. Till then, enjoy some music. So Devansh will be joining us in just a few minutes. He's just looking into his issues. So yeah, give us a few more minutes and we'll be back soon. Devansh is back. He's just setting up his microphone so that you all can listen to him. In the meantime, like if you have any questions on designing or if any questions on how Devansh started his journey, just put it in the chat and I'll ask it for you. It looks like Devansh is back. Just Devansh, just give me a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, hi Devansh.
Yeah. So am I audible now?
Yep. Yep.
All
Okay.
right.
So let me just start share your screen.
All right. Do that.
Awesome. You're good to go.
So where were we? Like where did we end?
The previous slide
All right. The form.
before that.
Okay, let me start with the elements of design, right? So as I told you, there are elements of design. So elements of design, what they help you in doing is basically they try to portray your information. So there are different informations like text, there are images, there are decoratory abstract elements, there is hierarchy, and there is everything. So what elements of design help you in doing is they help you in setting up the principles of design. So with while you have principles of design and elements of design, so both of these go hand in hand. So what lines help you in doing, they like lines, they are literally help you in forming a shape, right? So shapes are images, then you have shapes for images, shapes or text. So you can have text in a circular shape, right? And you can portray shapes to define different types of information. For example, this shape might be giving you flower like flower like psychology, right? So shapes help you with that. After that, you have form. So form is basically the dimensions of your elements, right? So in a 2D plane, if you want to portray something which is 3D, so this is how you can do. You can give shadows, you can give like you basically have to play with the axes in forms, right? Now forms help you in giving depth to your design, right? After that you have color, so you can use colors. Now color, what colors help you in doing is they basically sometimes help you in portraying the information, right? If the basically the emotion of your design, the what you want to portray. If you want to portray anger or maybe something very alerting, you can use red. If you want to portray something which is calm, you can use blues, right? You can use light blue, right? So what you can use color is for, you can show what you want to portray, right? If you want to portray anger, depth, you can use dull colors so that you want to portray something, an emotion of sadness, right? If you want to portray something youthful, you can use bright colors like bright blue, yellows, bright yellows. And if you want to portray something like parties, right, so you can use neon colors, right? So you can do that. After that you have value. Right now value is basically the saturation of your color. So if you see here, I can given the maximum value to the thing which is on the foreground. After that I've lessened the value so that I can show you that, so that I can show that it is on the background, and the one which I wanted to show, which is the furthermost, I have lessened the value to almost negligible, right? So this is how you can portray value to showcase depth, right? You can use colors, you can use forms, I have also used shadows, right? So that I can show that the foremost element is coming forward, right? So that is how you can play with the design. After that you have texture. So texture helps you in defining the elements. So if you want to portray cloth, you have cloth textures. You want to portray metal, you have to make it shiny, right? If you want to portray something matte, you have to make it very dry, right? That you can use textures to portray different information. So textures help you. Basically, textures help in the background of designs. Like most of the time, it helps me most of the time in portraying the background of the design. So I use different textures for the background so that I can depict the emotion of the, what do we call it, design, or the poster or the UI I'm designing, right? After that, you have shape. Now, in shape, there is something called as gestalt, so which is a very psychological theory. You can know more about it. Okay, and shape there are basically there are two types of spaces. I'm sorry, I'm calling shape, it is space, right? In space there are two spaces, positive and negative. The positive is the space where you have your information. For example, your background is red and your information, there is an information which is in white. So you have something called as heading 1, right? So in heading 1, that color is white, so that is our positive space, and the negative space is the other red area, right? So you have to make sure that the positive and the negatives are very well laid, they are in balance, so that it does not feel very empty and it does not feel very cluttered, right? So that is how you can use elements of design. These elements of design: line, shape, form, colors, then you have value, then you have texture, then you have shape, space. I'm sorry, why am I calling it shapes, right? So I have these. Now, I tell you that this might feel very complicated, right? You have principles of design, you have elements of design. Now, how do you practice them? Is a how do we utilize them in a let's say a poster, right? So, uh, do one thing, that do not try to focus on all the elements of design, or do not try to focus on all the principles of design at one point of time. When I learned of them, I still was not really good at design, right? I still am not. I still am learning. But what I do is I try to focus on some one perspective of design. For example, this time I'm focusing on the color. The next design I'm focusing on the text or the typography. The next time I'm focusing on gestalt theory. The other time I'm focusing on how do I portray a particular emotion. Now, how to use these elements and principles of design to portray a particular emotion, right? Now, I have seen that while people design something, even for themselves, they do not really focus on the psychology or the emotions of the design. So they just use some colors which they think they are cool. Now, if they do come up with good color palettes, and even there are tools which give you good color palettes, but I feel that one can do is that they can really try to come up with colors themselves, so that they understand that what they want to portray, what emotion they want to portray. They can use colors and they can try to understand that how they can use it, right, to portray certain types of emotions and psychology, right? So that is how you can learn. You can try case studies, you can learn, what you can do is you can search about famous designs, you can learn about them, you can study them basically, and then you can try to implement it in your design the next time, right? After that, people ask me that what is the difference between the types of design like graphic and UI and UX. What do I start with, UI or UX? What do I start with, graphic or UI? So again, I would like to quote Paul Rand from a conversation with students in Princeton Architectural University. So he says that design and graphic design is no different form of design in painting, right? If you carry this idea in its natural conclusion, you will decide that there is no difference between design and painting or design and sculpture. It is all the same. Now, what he means by this is that design essentially is not very different, right? It is like how you are trying to solve a problem. For example, if you are designing something called as a graphic design. Let's say in a graphic design, you are designing a poster. Now you will use the same elements of design, you will use the same principles of design to design that poster. And if you are designing a UI, what you will do is you will design the same UI with the same principles of design and with the same elements of design. Just in UI, the interaction increases. You have buttons, you have radio buttons, you have check boxes, right? So there the interaction increases. So you have to solve a problem with the same principles of design and the same elements of design, just the interaction increases, right? So I would like to add to Paul Rand that it is just how you plan to solve a problem is what differentiates and what is required from the design. From a poster, it should convey information, right? So if you're designing a poster, it should convey information. There is no interaction. Like there is a non-verbal interaction, there is a textual interaction, I agree, but conveying information is what a poster's purpose is, right? Now, from a mobile UI, it should be pleasurable, right? It should bring pleasure. I'm sorry, pleasurable is not the word, right? So from a mobile UI, user interface, it should bring pleasure, right? Like, well, if you're designing a UI, it should look good. It should its design should be good. The colors, you have to focus on the colors. You have to focus on the typography. And from a UX, it should be designed to provide good experience and customers' emotions and attitude centric. It should be customer emotions and attitude centric, right? Now, if you're designing a UI, you'll not focus on the attitude of the customer. You can focus on the customer's emotions too. But UX, what does is you have to focus on the user psychology. You have to study the market. You have to interview people, right? You have to bring on surveys, and that is how you construct a UX, right? Now, here are some of the YouTube channels you can follow. Now, I follow them. I'm not a reader, so I do not. I like there are many good novels of design, but I'm not I'm not really a reader, and so I watch videos. So I watch The Future. It is a YouTube channel, and here is the link. There is AJ and Smart. They are also a studio. Actually, The Future is also a studio, but the studio's name is The Blind, so you can follow them. So the future is basically business centric. How you can you like how to use design in a format of business, like how you can market your design. So the future is very much related to that. AJ and Smart, they are more into design principles. They are into perspectives of design, right? And awards is very commercialized. So awards brings you studio, like people from studios, how studios use their design psychology, what is their design ideology. So these are the three I follow very well and very regularly, and that is where I can, like, if I want to learn about some principle of design, I go to AJ Smart and The Future. And if I want to learn how market uses design ideology, so if you see that every studio has their own design ideology, right? So awards gives you that. It gives you what is going on in the market, right? And The Future helps you to build your individuality in the design market. If you are a freelancer, The Future helps you in that, right? So that is that. Now, I would like to give you the final words that if you want to start with designing, first what you can do is you can just keep on designing anything, right? First you design something, anything, like if you see a info, like if you see even a word, you, and if you think that I can design with this word, I can use this word as an inspiration, do that. Take that word, try to find the colors which relate to that word and do that. After that, study others cases. You can go to Behance, you can go to Dribble, you can go to old designs. Like there is one design agenda which I really like. It is Hitler's agenda, the way Hitler used design to successfully populate his idea. I know it was really wrong. It was that design can be used in a very negative way too, but you can see how well he has used it, right? The designer, the Hitler's designer, has used it very well. The colors, the typography, the symbolism, they have used it really well to populate their agenda. So you can study these cases, how they used it, how people use typography. In fact, uh, there is this concept called as Bauhaus. Now, what Bauhaus is that in Europe, in Germany, no, not in Germany, in Europe, there was this school of Bauhaus, and it was meant to be, it was closed down by Nazis, right? And Bauhaus was basically an idea of design, right? And you can see it almost everywhere. In the modern architectural design, people use Bauhaus very much, right? In fact, my building is somewhat related, where I live in, it is somewhat related to the Bauhaus concept. Now, what is Bauhaus concept is that everything has a proportion. It is meant to be simplified. Everything is to be simplified. So you can learn about these concepts of design, and you can see that how a typography can shape an architectural world. Now, Bauhaus was basically a typography. They came up with a typography, and after that, using that as a using that concept as to be in an architectural world, it is something which is mind blowing, and that is what design is. Inspirations can come from anywhere, right? So you can study people, you can study designs, and you can come up with some designs for yourself, and then get feedbacks from the people you think will give you uh, critical feedback, right? There are two types of feedbacks you can get. First is the expert feedback. So get yourself a expert who is in design, or if you think who is an expert in design, and ask them, what is what is the changes I can do technically, right? And what you can do is another one is ask the audience, which whom do you think, like whom you think are going to perceive it. So you can ask your friends that how does it look, how are the colors, just tell them what does it portray, and they will tell you they will tell you what they feel, right? So this is how you can get two types of feedbacks and how you can find a balance between both of them and try to improve your design. So eventually it is a process and eventually it helps you in building your design expertise or in your design ideology, right? So I mean that is all from my side. Thank you. Now I would like to call Herschel to tell us about sillyhacks.online, right? So Herschel, over to you.
Hey Devansh, thank you for the great session. Before moving on to Celiax, we have a few questions from the attendees. So I'm
All
just
right.
gonna ask those questions. So the first question we have is like, how can I pick up the best color combination? And this is something that I feel is a really good question.
All right.
Because I personally have this problem like picking the right color. So what's your
All right.
idea of picking up the best color?
Right. So while you are picking up a color combination, so do not really focus on the color theory, is what I feel, right? Now, what people usually do is that they go to the random color palette generation tools and they find a good color combination. And I do agree that they have pretty good color combinations, but what it does it manipulates it basically materializes your idea, right? So what you can do is first try to find the emotion of the design, right? If there's a tech poster you want to build, or if a tech design, so you see that how other people have used in tech posters, right? In tech design, so there's blues, there's purples, there's violets, right? Basically that even there are bright pinks people use with black to portray technology, right? So what you do is you come up with just one color first, which you think portrays the design best. Okay, come up with one color, now design it, and after that come up with an accent color, right? Accent color is which basically helps you with the primary color. Now the accent color can be very bright or it can be helping color, right? So there are two types of accent colors, one which helps the primary color and second which helps in emphasizing itself. So for example, if I've used black as my primary color, what I can do is I can use a very light gray so that I can differentiate two types of content. Or I can use bright blue, I can use bright yellow so that yellow emphasizes, right? So now, or what I can do is I can use all the three colors. First, black for my background, yellow for my title, and light gray for the body copy, right? So do not really focus on color theories and everything. Just try to find a good balance. And once you find, if you think that these two colors will go good, what you can do is you can build a square. And let me just show you. In fact, is my screen visible?
No, let me add it.
Yeah,
You're good.
yeah. So for example, if you have this, right? Now let us say we have used a random color, which is this, right? Now with this, what you can do is you can place another square inside it, because you want to see the contrast and you want to see which color goes inside very well, because now you have the primary color which is blue. Okay, now what you can do is you can just glance through this, right? And if you feel that yellow is pretty good, can do that. Now this can be very techy, right? So this can be something which can help you in good color combinations, but yet again I would say that I came up, like I would come up with this idea once I have an emotion. As I said, I have technology as something which is something I have used as my inspiration. Now if I want to use, if I want to, let's say I want to design something for wildlife, right? I would wildlife which is very much connected to nature. Okay, so what we do, obviously nature, green, right? We come up with a green color. So we have our primary color which is green. Now what is the other thing which falls in nature? Stones. right? So what do? We come up with stones. Now, stones are essentially very dark. Now is when you can not really focus on the emotion and you can come up with a good combination, right? You have to focus on the contrast. So you go up and you get this, right? So you this is how you find a good color, right? And after you have this, so you are not just uh, bound by these two colors. After this, what you have to do is there are hues in a color. So now, well, you are choosing hues. Now, hues, Herschel. Okay, now mind. Hues are basically what they are. They're shades of they're shades of one color. So they help you in defining, right? If you're using the same green color, if you want to use the same green color, but it is not legible, you can use the other hues of that same color. Now, hues are always in a curve like this. Okay, it creates a curve like this, a slant curve. Okay, so let's say we have this. So you can do hues like this on the color palette, or what you can do is you can lessen the opacity to get a precise color and then use this, right? So this is how we get hues of the color. You can use lights. After that you have lighter shade and similarly these. We have 58, 58 and we have 30, right? So this is how I come up with my color palettes. First, I try to find a good combination, and then like no, I first try to find a emotion. After that, I design. After that, I come up with a palette. So I hope I answered. If you have any like, if you think that it's not precise, I can elaborate.
Yeah. So you talked about secondary color and primary color. Can you just
Right.
expand like what is the difference between those two and why like where they go into place in any poster on a website or design?
Right. So primary colors are basically the brand colors, right? The colors you want to show to people, right? That this is the color, right? And the secondary colors usually help in two things. First, they help the primary color, and the second is they help in showing the information legibly. So the secondary colors are used for headings, they are used for image backgrounds, right? They are used for overlays, they are used for body copies. Now there in if you are designing something called as if you're designing a background, a title and a body copy, so the background is the primary color,
Okay.
the title can be the secondary color, and the body copy जिधर information ज़्यादा है that can be tertiary color, or it can be another hue of the primary color or even the secondary color. It is up to you which combination feels the best, right? And there is a ratio in color theory. So primary color goes the most, has the 60% of the ratio. So in your design 60% should be primary color, then 30 should be secondary, and then other 10 should be tertiary, right? So I do not really go for the fourth color unless it is very necessary, but I use this ratio. I like it is up to the designer, to be honest. Like if you do not, if you think that this ratio is not even important, then it is all up to you. If the design looks good on the 50-50, you can do that too, right?
Makes sense. Okay. We got a very long question from Harsh Mehta. He's asking how do I start looking at things as possible design and how do I convert them into a design? Basically, what I mean is that I want to take real life objects and design them myself. And this is a continuation of the question. Any tips on what to look for example, colors, shadows, etc. What else?
Okay, right. Amazing. So, and this is nice, right? So, inspiration, as I said, can come from anywhere. It can come from literally anywhere, right? It can come from buildings. It can come from a visual design. किधर कोई वास देख लिया उधर से design. So, what you can do is every design or every inspiration of yours has shape, has color, has shadows, right? And has and no, like, these are the three color. These are the three things: color, shape, and shadows. Right? Now it is up to you how you are, and also the fourth one, the environment. Right? Environment is something like, for example, if I play, like for example, if I how do I say this? If I place a plant in a closed room, it does not serve the purpose and it won't look good. A plant is meant to be is meant to look good in nature, right? With the nature or somewhere open, right? So you have to look for the first of all the environment. Like the environment helps you in getting the background, right? It helps you in getting what kind of design feel you want to create. After that, you can look at the shape. Now, shape has two things. Uh, Outlines and colors. Now shape also has curves. So what now, for example, a vase, let's say a vase. Now vase has a curves, right? So you can, what you can do is, now if you have seen a very cool vase and you say that you want to design a website similar to that, right? What you can do is, a vase will have curves. So what you can do, you can put similar curves outline for an image. Are you getting me? For example, let me show. Can you share my screen again?
You're good to go.
Right. Let's say that this is. Let me design the vase. Right. No, no. I'm designing good or not. Right. Now, let's say that you are inspired by the. Okay, wait. You are inspired by the vase and you want to portray similar curves. Okay. Now, what you can do is, you can portray similar curves like this. Okay, and you can use these colors for your abstractions, for your shapes, and you can put image in this place. And then if you are inspired by the color of the vase, and here goes the color of the vase. Usually color vases are in brown, right? So this is how you basically dissect your pieces of information and your inspiration, and try to pick what you like the most out of it. And after that, use that, you can use that as an inspiration basically. I
Makes
hope I
sense.
Harsh, I answered you.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Uh, so like I also had a question from my end. What do you think? Like which is the go-to tool for you if you are designing? Let's just say if you are designing a UI for a website, right? So
Right,
which
right.
go-to tool for you? Because now out there are a lot of tools,
Right,
and now there is
right,
a
right,
kind of confusion, like which tool someone should go for, right? Let's just say
right,
if
right,
someone is a beginner, right?
right, right.
What tool would you suggest for someone to go?
Now, I use I personally use Adobe XD because the interface of Adobe XD is very simple. On the left you have tools, that's it, and on the right you have properties panel. That's it. Now, like I personally use Adobe XD because it is very convenient for me. Now, for a friend of mine, he uses like Illustrator. Now, another friend of mine uses Figma. And to be honest, what you can do is, like, there are two things. If someone starts with a software, they end up using that software because they get comfortable with it. So I would say, try to find the best software you have, like what you think is the best, and try to use it. And if it does not fit you, it does not comfort you, then I would suggest changing it. So basically, if you're designing something, designing tools are just to help you with your idea. They are not there to design for you. They are just there so that you can portray your idea, and they are there for the convenience, right? So try to look for the convenience, try to look for the precise tools, and then go for it. So for UI UX, I would suggest Adobe XD or Figma, right? For vector design, graphic design, you can use Illustrator, and for photo manipulation, you can, if you want to remove background, if you want to know. put two images in one image, you want to club those images, you can use Photoshop, right? But it is all up to the convenience. If you're able to use Illustrator, then I would say use that because it is lighter than Photoshop, apparently.
Awesome. Awesome. So earlier you asked me about chili hex. So I just had a
Right.
question about chili hex. So okay, let me just first introduce what chili hex is to the audience over here, and then I'll ask the question about chili hex. So for those of you who don't know what chili hex is basically a 48-hour hackathon. It's a global hackathon which you can take part from your home, and you can just build anything. It can be a fart app, which when you click on it, it just makes a sound of fart, or it can be a Google action, which on every failing build, you kind of do a random tweet, like it can tweet a random emoji or something like that. So that's what Chili Hack is. You can show off your creativity. We are completely open for seeing new ideas. So that is what Chili Hacks is. And Chili Hacks, all the designs that you are seeing around Chili Hacks is being designed by Devans himself. So now the question comes over here, Devans, like how did you came up with the idea of those characters for Chili Hacks, and how did you came up with those color palette?
Now, to be very honest, let's let's not go to the characters. We'll start with when you came up with silly hacks. My first thought was it is first of all it is silly, right? Now it does not have to have silly things do not have logic at all. Right? So I decided that whatever I'm designing should not have logic to it, right? And second, if it is silly hacks, then it has to be fun. It has to be
Right,
funny, and it has to be playful. So what I did, I came up with soft, vibrant colors so that I can show that youthfulness, that vibrance. So color palette was something which evolved later on, but I just wanted to show something playful. If I would have used darker colors, they would have been very serious. So I did not use that. And for the characters, if you ask me, to be honest, I just I just drew some random shapes and then I tried to make a body out of it. So there's no real logic behind the characters, to be honest. You can see mad stuff, you can see silly stuff. So there's no logic in characters. I just focus on the colors. Apparently, I have used 6 to 7 colors which show vibrance. That is all.
awesome, awesome. So yeah, I don't see any more questions coming in the chat. So we are just
Right.
gonna wait for a few more minutes to just see like if we have any more questions in the chat. In the meantime, do you want to share something else? Do you want to talk about something else? Like
I guess I added the healthier AI one, right? So if you are interested in if anyone over here is interested in AI and is into AI and who is trying to learn AI, we have so like we have organizers from who are the organizers? Pranshu Khanna and Shaina Dingra. So they both are the organizers. They both are the owners of Healthier AI. So if you are looking to apply for the cohort, you can do that. The applications will be out. And if you are an expert on AI and if you want to mentor people, if you have worked on AI before, the applications are open, right? So you can look forward to that. If Herschel, you can pin the website healthierai.org so
mm,
people can have a look.
let me open that. Maybe you can open it and I can share it. Share it screen.
Yeah, yeah, I've done that.
Okay. So let me put your screen.
Wait, let us show the animation.
Okay. So you can
Right.
just go ahead and refresh it.
Yeah, okay. I'll refresh it. Right, so this is a sick animation developed by Arpan and his team. Right, so this is Healthier AI. Now, Healthier AI aims to be an experience more than mentoring program. It helps to build leaders who are interested in AI basically, right? So you can basically go through this website and you can learn more about Healthier AI from here. Almost everything about Healthier AI from here. So Pranchu Khanna and Shana Tingra are the organizers of this program. So if you have any doubts regarding that, you can ping them, right? That is that. Harshil, I'm done.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Devansh, for the amazing talk. I am sure a lot of the folks learned a few things. I personally learned a few things. And yeah, I don't see any more questions coming in. So I think we'll wrap it up over here. Any last
Sure.
words, Devansh?
No, just I would say if you are really keen towards design, just keep designing and ask for feedbacks to friends and your family. And if someone who is expert in design you think, then find a good balance and just do that. I mean, keep designing. That is all I would like to say. Everything is design. Everything. It is said by Paul Rand, one of the greatest designers, not me. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Devansh, for joining in and sharing your knowledge. Hope you all learned a few things. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.